we were asking him. But he centered his attention on the Middle East and telling us that the sand, and once he explained what it was, we knew exactly what he was talking about, contained some kind of healing powers. And like I said earlier, I don't know that we fully understood how he was explaining it. And so there's some type of healing powers. Now I know they brought him sand, but
that was my next question. Yeah.
Being in Los Alamos, the sand came from probably White Sands or New Mexico.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't have any information. I never read any of the detailed debriefings about whether that sand helped or not. But he specifically told the handler, the captain that was his handler, that the Middle East, or showing us where the Middle East was, the sand there generated healing powers for them, for the Ebens.
Must be a frequency-based, reflection or something that the sand is giving off. What do you think, Tim?
What we do know is that the materials that have been used in order to build these structures are specifically chosen. It's not randomly chosen, but they are specifically chosen. So from the top, the Pyramidion, until the ground itself, they all conduct a certain movement of electricity. Later on, they even put gold onto the top of the pyramid, but science made it pretty clear that this wasn't even necessary at all, because the material that already was there already done the job.
You mentioned earlier about the artifacts that were found inside the pyramid during these expeditions. Could you tell us more about these artifacts, and also, did you find any bodies?
No, we didn't. I've never read anything about bodies being found in there, or mummified remains or anything like that. I think that they were looking for those. These artifacts were wands, swords, just other chalices, aluminum material that were left in there for some particular reason, whether it was there for the mummified remains or whether the ETs or somebody else left them there. I've never read anything about all of them. They talk about the artifacts. They're talking about what was found in there. And there's pictures of artifacts that were taken out of the pyramids all over, and John Enoch has a whole presentation about some of these artifacts. I don't know everything about the artifacts, nor do I know everything that's made. The only thing I know and I read was those artifacts, our scientists believe, that they were for healing, only inside the pyramids. If you take them out, they didn't generate energy or frequencies to do any healing.
This story that's circulating in our group, which said that the Americans were on a mission in the 1990s around the pyramids, and that they opened an underground chamber and found a still living ET being that was down there and left over from whoever inhabited that area at that time. I don't know if it's true, because again, this is referring to the United States Army, but the story itself was quite fascinating, because they always were speaking about that this being in particular was kind of a guardian, and it was in this chamber and was super old. So people were at least assuming that it's this life form itself was there about 5,000 years ago, living in this chamber, which was completely sealed. So there was no circulation of air, there was no nutrition, no food, no water, and this was basically the story. So people were chatting about and wondering how this life form, which they even described with a tail, which was down there, how it could survive that long.
What did it look like?
Well, the story, and again, I'm not sure if this is official or not, but it's just something that circulated in the group was that it's less humanoid. It had some kind of darkish, very, dark gray skin, a weird, more or less triangular head, and a long tail. And they were assuming that it's a god to this chamber.
Sure.
And from what I've heard, it was at least 5,000 years old.
Oh, amazing.
I don't know if you know
Yeah,
about this.
that's a story that actually we at the Institute for Advanced Studies got a hold of that. And I think they came out sometime in the early 90s or mid 90s or something. That a team from NATO that went there, and I don't know if any of this is true or not, but the story we got was similar to what he said, was that a team went in there, and I wasn't, I didn't hear there was just an American team. I think it was a joint team. But anyways, a team went in and this one chamber and found this live being in this chamber. And according to what I'd read, it had a headdress similar to what a Egyptian would be wearing 5,000 years ago. And now that's somewhat of a triangle. I guess you could compare that to a triangle. Had very strange hands and arms. It was somewhat lethargic when the team found him.
I'd say so after 5,000 years.
And I think they figured that it was surviving on energy.
Right.
It was some type of a being that was that could gain strength or maintain its health through energy from the pyramid. That's the story we got. Unfortunately, we did a lot of investigations on that, and we confirmed that there was a team that went there, and one of the commanders of the team, I don't remember his rank, I believe it was United States Army, told this story. And then, of course, it wasn't the internet back in those days, so it got through, and I think it was in some kind of a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was connected to a science fiction book some years ago that somebody wrote. So I've heard it all, and Tim had a good description of what he remembers, and I have mine. Now, whether that actually happened, or, of course, my question wasn't our question. What we wanted to know was what happened to the ET. You know,
Right.
if you found an ET in there, where is he in Area 51, or where did they go, or is he in Egypt? Is Egypt keeping him? That's the question.
Have either one of you heard in the last decade about a joint American expedition to Giza where they actually snaked like 1,000-foot fiber optic camera down in there, and they saw underneath the pyramid a huge city like the size of like Rome, you know, with statues and rock floors. And I did see parts of that video, but I don't know if it's real. Have you heard about this?
What I think I remembered from the document and the research been done on the pyramid is that not only below the pyramid in Egypt, but also below the pyramid in Mexico,
Right.
you find a reservoir of water, which adds to the currency flow, the electrical charge of the pyramid, and is kind of necessary for the whole design of the pyramid as well. I can't actually believe that there's a city below that,
Nice.
but there is indeed a reservoir of water, used to be.
Were any artifacts discovered clearly non-terrestrial?
Yes. Some of the artifacts that were taken back and studied at some laboratories like Sandia National Laboratories and Los Alamos National Laboratories, where they can go down to the molecular structure of these artifacts.
I'm not gonna stop looking for you.
They're made of. They found that some of them contained materials that clearly didn't come from this planet. And some of the materials that we could identify were fused in such a way that we didn't have a method on Earth, even then, even in the 90s or
Come on,
the
buddy.
2000s. That
We're
could
gonna
make
find you again.
These things, fusing things like zinc and other things together, especially 5,000 years ago. I mean, these artifacts are carbon dated, some of them were carbon dated to 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. So we
There
knew they
you
were
are.
old. And who made them? They couldn't have been made by any of Earth civilizations that long ago. And some of the material, I think 2 or 3 different elements of the material, was found in such minute quantities on
I could
Earth.
still have beautiful
But
quality
we knew then
footage.
that this material is found in space and other
space, right.
planets. So, who made them? They would have had to been an extraterrestrial race that created these things and gave them maybe as a gift to the occupants of the pyramid or the
Sure,
occupants of
right.
that area of Giza.
What else in the excavations that was discovered that may point to non-human life?
Well, in one of the damaged pyramids in the southern part, south of the Giza, one that was heavily damaged. I don't recall the name of that one.
The Tycho
They
crater.
did find an exoskeleton of an ET, and we
Can't
know
forget about that.
it was because we had that material, we had that skeletal structure of that ET in our laboratory that we had recovered in a prior crash some years ago, probably in the 60s or 70s. So we knew that skeletal structure was that
Yeah, I
of
knew it
an
was going to do
ET,
that.
and we found that.
All right, well, I think that's
exploration
pretty
team
good to
found
me.
that in one of those damaged.
I got plenty of
pyramids.
footage
What
of
that
this beautiful
skeleton
thing,
look like?
so
Did it look like
I'm
human?
happy. I'm pretty happy.
Do they know that race already? You said
I'm
because
pretty
it's
happy.
familiar looking.
Yeah, it was definitely an ET, and I said they compared that skeletal
I'm
structure
considerably
with
happy
what they've
with what
already
I've got.
had, and it was a small
How
4
about
foot
this? This is perfect.
a being, the skeletal structure, and I don't know. I'm not a medical specialist.